Better clean those glasses, Dan. Danger Dan says, nah, dude, we are flipping our schedules. Don't you worry. Yes, thanks for being here. Thanks for everybody who's transitioning over from the other streams. This is going to be an interesting layout. There's a lot of cool little mini bunkers here. I'm very curious to see how this will play out. We will have to go over this relatively quickly, and I apologize for that. We spent a lot more time on the zone control portion of the stream than I was expecting, but I'm glad. I think it'll be a good one. So let me do the quick announcements here, and then we'll get right into it right away. Merch. SVP merch is here. If you guys are curious at grabbing yourselves a dry fit t-shirt, which is awesome to play in, by the way. Those dry fit t-shirts are really durable from Dizana. Thank you guys so much. If you want to grab yourself a dry fit t-shirt or a long sleeve jersey, which is like literally the best in the business in my opinion, I absolutely love Dizana jerseys. Click the link in the description below saying merch is here. I'm trying to get orders batched together in time for World Cup. So if you'd like to wear those or have them at practice before World Cup, please get your orders in as soon as possible. It is the 15th today. Please get them in the next 2 days. I'm going to send a big wave of orders over. Thanks so much for those who've ordered so far. And also be sure to join the Discord server. I'll say it a zillion times. The Discord server is the best way to stay up to date on everything that's going on in the community, including stocking, whatever the case is with merch. And also, something I didn't mention on the other streams, which I failed to mention, is that I've had a lot of people recently ask me about online coaching services, and I figured I'd just be very upfront about that here. I do offer my services in a private setting, which sounds really weird. I charge $40 an hour, and I generally ask for at least 2 hours. Those coaching services are essentially like a more I can't avoid it, intimate setting where I answer people's questions about the layout specifically. I cover them similarly to how I do on stream, but the second half of that stream is also to create breakouts for those layouts. So if you have like a local event or whatever that has a guns up layout made for it, which is a very important component to this, it is very, very difficult to do layout breakdowns with just pictures. So all I ask is that there's a guns up layout of it. But if you're wanting that, if you're D4, D5, even D3 team that's wanting help with the layout or essentially like my input on it specifically, reach out and message me on Discord. I'm happy to facilitate that conversation. And yeah, that's it. So let's get into it. We're going to keep this music going. This is a nice pep up music. It'll help us get through this kind of quickly. I apologize for those who are playing this layout. I don't mean to be not giving this the layout the time it needs, but I think we can get through this pretty quick. So as always, we draw these zones. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that actually. Let's redo that one. So these are very like off the cuff. Okay, that's right. These are very off the cuff, and sometimes I change my mind because those look kind of weird. So, we got one more zone here that we need to do. This layout looks like Lane's layout. I'm playing this tournament in October. Yeah, I'm curious to see what this will be. So, this is Iowa, Nevada, Texas, Oklahoma, Arizona. If you want to use simpler zones, this is Dragon and Charger. The zones are a way for us to understand where people are likely going to be in a breakout. And if we kill that person in that zone, we can call that, say, Iowa. If we kill the guy in the Iowa zone, knowing that the last guy on that side is likely in the zone behind him. With that out of the way, let's look at... I hate red and blue layouts and guns up. They are absolutely blinding. I don't know what it is about these red and blues, but they're so bright. So let's look at what shots exist off the break. Interesting that the only shots that really exist right here are over the top blind shots. So that's, I mean, if you're tall, it's not a problem, but I'm not tall. So those shots are pretty, this is a really safe bunker to get to right here. However, going out further from the home, this is a huge gap right here. So that's a huge gap that'll be difficult to survive, especially because the home guy is very safe in taking that gap or taking that shot. And then kicking out here to the corner. You do have a gap here, but I don't think anybody's going to be playing that dead zone for them to shoot you here. Otherwise, shooting back at the home is not very safe. I would imagine going out to this corner, if you are going to run a gun, you're really just trying to shoot the guy heads up. But I don't know if I would run a gun to this corner. That is a huge gap. Interesting, though, when you get here, you have a pretty cool shot in this little zone right here. If you look on the inside of the field, which is really just a threat to that Aztec. But You do have a little bit of a blind from the home guy. So if, for example, you tiger somebody out of here, let's say you kill the number 2 right here, you could actually hold the zone for a second and tiger that guy if you just shot your paint right here. Kind of cool. Interesting tape. This is a true tape in the sense that the corners can actually see down the wire all the way. It's actually a huge inset tape, so that's kind of cool. This is a very PSP feel layout with those mini X's especially. So really not a lot of gaps except going to the corner, obviously going to this mini X, those gaps. This is all the same gap, right? This right here is all the same. So whether you decide to go into the snake, go here, or go here, it's all the same gap, though changing where you shoot that is going to be meaningful. By the way, those who are watching this stream right now, if you please hit the like button, I'd really appreciate it. Now looking over the Dorito side, we have essentially the same sort of blind shot. Not sure how common that's going to be, especially because you can get past it really quickly. However, this shot right here is pretty crappy for you. So this over the top shot is not going to be fun for you as the number 2. That blind shot is definitely strong. So understanding where that looks like from your perspective is right here. Shooting in this valley. If they dive into this, I don't think you'll kill them. But if they run and gun for whatever reason, which I don't even think there's shots there, that will stop that. Yeah, I wouldn't take this crossfield shot. It might be wider in the actual tournament, but like that's a pretty crappy shot to take when you can really only see it when you get here. And when it's pretty easy for them to make. I actually didn't even look at the crossfield shots that might exist here. It's the same thing, right? Same crossfield angle. Not great. Can't really see. You can keep each other honest by shooting every so often, but that's kind of it. And then breaking out past this point, really big gap here, and more even wider gap is essentially the same thing from the home. So I mean, you do have a bit of a gap right there, but this is the bigger gap of the two. Getting into the corner then is not a true tape at all on the Dorito side. A lot of obstruction from the heads up battle for the Dorito ones, meaning that if you're in this Dorito one and they're in this Dorito or whatever, you don't really need to worry about each other as long as you're not in the 50s as you try to go up. And if that's the case, then you really only need to worry about whatever the number 2 is doing, which they're likely to be in one of these bunkers, or whatever the middle guy's doing. So it's usually one or the other, but it's possible it could be both. So that's interesting. Let's look at the Dorito side now that we're here already. So this Dorito is a concern if you're in the corner, but you actually kind of dominate that guy, I would say. A mini Dorito is not it's a really hard bunker to fight from, because you can't get really tall in them. So the Dorito side center 50 is really good. It can stop the Doritos and stop someone from getting in the snake. The Dorito side center 50. Okay, cool. I actually just set this field. We will be competing on at OXCC. Oh, awesome. That's cool. That's way cool. Yeah, we'll look at the 50 here in just a second. So you have some pretty big gaps here. If anybody tried to take a bite from the can up to this Aztec, I'm not sure why they would, but we can look at that further. Getting up into this Dorito, then you don't have any free kills, but you do start to challenge the home guy. The one thing about this back center that I'm pretty sure is going to be the case without even having to look at it is that the shots off the break are much stronger than its positioning after that. So the farther up either sides of the field go, the more pinched out the back center will feel. And so I would imagine getting out of this back center after the early game is going to be pretty important. But it is, this is a bunker that is a bunker that can hold this gap. So I wouldn't feel threatened to get out of it until they got to the Dorito 1. But getting to this Dorito 1, wrapping low. So like that's the only bunker besides whatever's going on in the 50 that you'd have to worry about. You don't have to worry about whatever the number 2 is doing. And as long as the number 1 isn't in this 50, you don't have to worry about what they're doing. If they're in the 50, then you do. Otherwise, it's just this guy if he's looking your way. I guess it's also possible for it to be this guy, but one of those two. So then getting up here. Oh, let's look at the snake side here real quick. What snake is that? That is snake. Is that 50? No, it's like 40. So that's snake. There's snake 3. This is a position you'd have to worry about the snake 3 if they got there and you were still in the Dorito 1. But if you play your side of the field or your side of this Dorito, you're safe from them. This bite is really dangerous, and then getting here is going to be hard to survive, depending on how far. I guess you could play right here. If you play on this corner, you can survive that snake guy. I wouldn't worry about the home guy at this point. And then really it's just whatever's going on in the middle, either in this juice box or in this 50 here. But otherwise, again, we're assuming there's nobody in the 50 right in front of us. If they are, it makes this push exponentially harder. If you're back here and there's a guy in the 50, this push is really hard. Assuming they're not, though, you're good. Getting up here in this Dorito, there is a zone control. It is a hard zone control because you have to shoot paint in it constantly. It's probably not worth. And if they're in your snake 40, you're dead. That's a hard thing to survive. No free kills getting here right away, it looks like. Getting here, the first bunker you really need to worry about is that actually that Dorito 1 is a pretty strong bunker to stop you from just having a heyday on your opponents. So whether you, I would suspect that what needs to happen if you want to not just get bullied by them being in the 50 and you not in the 50, it would probably mean that your number 2 needs to be here. Maybe. In either case, it looks like if you want to stop the 50 from bullying you, somebody needs to be in this Dorito right here. So whether that's the number 2 who came here and then goes here, or that's the number 1 who stopped here and your number 2's here, then that's also possible. But that Dorito is actually pretty solid to stopping this 50 from just raining down on you. At least wrapping and doing so. But assuming that there's nobody there, wrapping really hard, now you've got some free kills. So you kill this Aztec for sure. You kill this corner very likely. Maybe not for free, but you'll definitely get a pack kill more often than you won't. And then this tower guy, this can guy is dead for sure. So you have at least 2 free kills, possibly a third, depending on, obviously, these guys aren't going to be here and here, right? So you're not going to get 3 kills in this one spot, very likely, but those shots exist. Getting up here to their side now, you do expose yourself to their snake 40 and their snake 30. We'll call it snake 2 and 3. These are very dangerous for you. It's also possible for you to kill their snake guys at this point. So you can get a drop shot on them just as easily as they can on you. But that shot is there. Wrapping here then, you actually can blind out the corner, but I would be very careful at doing this. But you could blind out the corner guy. And when you get here, it is game over. Like this guy's dead, this guy's dead, this guy's dead, this guy's dead, this guy should be dead already, and the corner guy's dead for sure. Even this center guy's dead, so... I didn't call the 50 dead, but this guy is either a trade or dead. So the challenge is that these bunkers are very, very close to each other. So your ability to like instantly punish them when you get here is really high, and you can actually take that same angle on the inside of the field almost. So you can't see the back center, but if you take this inside angle, well, kind of, you have pretty much the same shots as you did before. But you do have the ability to run down the Dorito guys, which makes this positioning much more difficult. So for example, if let's say you were here and your number 2 was here, and let's say they were here, and if this guy dies, you have to be very careful at this inside route, because they're going to be able to make this move, or maybe this move if they get you to flinch. But in either case, if they get here and they check off a lot of what's going on this side of the field, then all they have to do is just come run you down here. So, and they might not even have to get to your side to do it. Let's look at this little mini Dorito here real quick. This Dorito's pretty not great. It might be not a bad spot for your number 2 to get to hold the zones, but you can get plucked out from the snake side, I would say, pretty easily. My thought was, maybe what happens is you push up here as the number 1, and as the number 2, instead of going here and then here, you just go here. Because if you kill their front Dorito guy, then you can come here and hold off this zone. And even that move is pretty difficult. So it's a strong zone control bunker, especially because the wrapping on this is really strong. Because you can essentially hold this whole gap. This whole gap from here. You run the risk of dying to the snake guy. So that's pretty strong. That looks pretty fun. Way better than that dang SPL crap. How's the wrap from the D corner? Probably better now. Yeah, better and much safer. So it looks to be that would be your play. I wouldn't even bother with that mini Dorito. I don't even think I would use it as a stopgap. for the front Dorito guy, because like this is a huge gap to make. Well, let me backtrack. Let's look at this. Let's look at this Dorito gap here real quick. So from the home guy, this gap is pretty strong. That's a pretty wide gap. And off the break, if he's shooting that zone, it's going to be very, very difficult to survive this run into the Dorito. Yeah, so maybe you have to, unless you're going to go to the corner and again subject yourself to this gap that this guy's going to shoot at you. You might have to go to this mini Dorito as the front Dorito guy. That's kind of what it looks like. So that kind of sucks. So yeah, it looks to be that it's a pretty basic 1-2 punch sort of thing. So for example, let's do this one, I guess. So if for example in a standard breakout you go like here, so you send a guy here and a guy here. As soon as this guy kicks out, this guy goes here, because you can essentially do the same job. That's probably what you should do. Okay, cool. Let's look at the center-ish side of the field now. So again, we've looked at up this middle or on either side of the field from the home. Huge gaps. I mean, you can't see anything into the snake unless they decide to challenge you from here. You can put a little pressure on this mini X, but otherwise not a whole lot. And then from this home, you can actually see a little bit of what might be going on the Dorito side, and obviously this gap here, but not much else past that point. If you decide to push up to this little Aztec, you can hold this corner guy from pushing. If they haven't gotten into this Dorito, this isn't a bad response to whatever pressure you wanted to apply. So if you're saying, hey, we want to make a Dorito side push, maybe what you do is you hold them in this gap. And if they get to the corner for some reason, then maybe you come here. Or if you're just like, hey, I want to go, then maybe you come up here. Do the same job, but much closer. And you're safe. You're safe from the snake, I would say. Getting up here to this juice box, whatever command center you want to call it, you've got a great gap to stop the Dorito 1 to the Dorito 2. So I would say that should be your response. If you shoot this off the break, if you shoot this off the break and they get through to this Dorito 1, I would come here and go here, like almost immediately. I wouldn't even stop. I wouldn't stop here. I would come here and take this gap from this angle and then try to hold. If they get to that Dorito 2, you're pretty safe to make this move. Again, if the snake isn't looking your way, and if you do that, then you've got an even closer gap to hold. So that's not a terrible play. It also is not, it seems to be pretty easy to also like run up this way and shooting and then taking the dive here. So, oh, excuse me. Obviously, if you do that on the Dorito side or snake side, then they do it on the Dorito side. This is where you'll see each other. So just make sure that you have your gun up when you do this. Like it's okay to run with your gun down up until this point, but when you cross here, you need to have your gun up looking for that gap. Really basic like traps, setting up traps, zone control stuff. Also really, really easy like run throughs and stuff up the middle. And actually holding your opponent's like center, like command center bunkers seems to be pretty strong. There's a lot of stuff you can do from these. So I can't spend as much time as I'd like on like understanding the routes you could take here. I apologize. But just know that those bunkers off the break are pretty decent, but you're also really you're really, really susceptible to being run down. So just be aware of that. You could also surprise people and take this bite off the break and come here and hold this. Like hold this low right here and just watch this move, because you might kill somebody making it. To protect yourself. Again, this would be in the early game, the first like 10 seconds of the point, and then you wait to see what happens. If nothing happens, then you switch, get the intel you need on the Dorito side, or vice versa, get the intel you need on the snake side. However, I would say that this snake side is way weaker than holding the Dorito side. The Dorito side, you have gaps you can hold, and you're protected from the snake. If you hold the snake side, you can't actually see the snake guy until he decides to challenge you. You might still surprise them. It's not to say that it's bad, especially if you stand up. You might surprise them, and you actually could probably shoot somebody's pack as they try to take this move. Oh, excuse me, you can't see that. As they try to take this move, you could probably shoot their pack pretty easily. But I just always hate this. I hate this scenario where I'm like trying to shoot. I'm trying to wait for the snake to poke up and I surprise them. I usually don't like to do that unless the snake guy is on an island. So if we killed the number 2 behind him, let's say we killed this guy behind him and the snake guy's right here. I'm okay to hold this because now I'm putting an immense amount of pressure on him just even existing here, because on a moment's notice I could come run him down. I could either kill him here or kill him here as I do so. So I really like that play, but it's also possible that they equalize it by let's say they're here and here, and the number 3 decides to make some kind of cheeky move and come and run you down. Always a possibility, but I don't usually like to hold this type of scenario from that position if there's everybody alive. I just think it's not a very good thing to do. Home guy shoots off the break to kills. Yes. Home guy. I think that the home guys, I think there needs to be somebody here to shoot off the break. And you could even argue doubling up is not bad. It's not great, but if one guy is going to push up the center afterwards, it's not terrible. You just have to be careful because there are shots that do exist towards the back center from this position that could clip hoppers, so just be aware of that. Doubling up a Dorito is kind of hard, so unless you guys like stagger, so for example you could have one guy who's going in front, one guy who goes in front, and one guy goes behind. It's not a great angle. You guys get what I mean. It's possible to have somebody like here and somebody here, and then maybe this guy's the one who takes the bite up the middle afterwards or just kicks out, whatever. You can decide whichever side you want to do that on. To kill a wide guy, regardless if you hit him as soon as he goes into his dive, the center should release straight up, possibly another. Yes, absolutely. So those windows of opportunity, that's why like every move, I know you know this already, Dan, so thank you. But every move that's made almost all the time up the center is done as soon as somebody crosses a zone that person was holding, because that means that the center guy knows where the person is at, and they're not able to really shoot at them because they're still running, or they'll be in their dive. So yeah, it is possible you send 2 people up here. I don't love double center plays where I feel like it's easy to run down those people from the same angle. So, but it is possible. I think if you were to play a double center, you'd probably do something here and here because it feels like a lot safer. I mean, it's possible that this guy gets run down, but it's not likely that he'll run down the other guy. I mean, it shouldn't say it's not likely. It's just you mitigate a lot more if you do that than if you put them both here and this guy comes through and kills both. But and I also, like I said, I hate this. I hate this snake side hold. These back center lanes are pretty strong. I'd probably double up every point and then one breakout after 3 seconds. Yes. So this is kind of like the meta of the layout that will develop and change over the course of the tournament. My grammar's horrible on the cell phone. I'm gonna tap out. No problem, buddy. Thanks so much for hanging out and watching the stream, dude. I really appreciate it. But so the thing is, like, the meta of a field will change throughout the course of a tournament. It doesn't necessarily change in practice. Usually in practice, people will learn and try things and essentially develop like a playbook for what they'll do in certain situations. But the meta of a layout will change throughout a tournament because, for example, if everybody knows that people are doubling up because these off the center shots are just too strong, well, what does that mean? That usually means that if you're willing to forego one of those, you can make a move up the center right away to punish that in some way or another, right? So for example, because like, let's say you know this, you're not going to even risk those bodies wide, okay? You've contained them essentially in these gaps. But that just means that there's a lot less pressure to go there, and there's a lot more incentive to go up the middle right off the break, which might mean that what you do is you have essentially a 3-man breakout off the middle. So you have one person, it's going to be kind of clumped, but you have one person shooting this, one person shooting this, and then you send one guy up the middle right away. And maybe his job is to do something crazy off the break. Maybe it is to come here and try to contain the home guys. Because what happens is if you run off the break right up the middle and you've got people shooting on either side of you, and you can see essentially both lanes, right? Like I can see this guy right here if he crosses this gap. Okay, but if I run here, I can either stop and hold this zone, and I know they've contained themselves, they're not going to go past here because the shot's so strong, or they do that and I decide, okay, this is as much play area as I have. Like I can just come here now, and then boom, I can either surprise that guy or I just wrap and shoot the guy in the loader right here. I mean, it's obviously our chances of trading with each other is pretty high, but like, man, what a devastating move if you can contain people in the back center every single point. It's all right. My grammar is horrible and I'm typing from my PC. Thought the same move. Plus, if you get to their 40 center, you're protected from one side due to the bunker in the middle of it. Yep, exactly. So if you come even here, boom, now all of a sudden you got a lot of protection. It's just you're going to get run down by the back center. You can even come here, you know. You can come here and surprise people. And now look, if you decide to take this shot, actually this is the shot I would take. So if I push up the middle and I know I've contained them in these two cans, and I come here, that's the shot I would take. I'd come here and then I'd come up over the top. And I bet you'll see 2 hoppers right here. Easy. So that's something I would consider doing. Okay, we got to go through the snake and then be done because we're like well over our time. So let's see. Same sort of principles on this side, I assume, with that Aztec. Straight up guns heads up battle. It's an unrewarded battle, which is really bad. So what I mean by that is if you win this heads up battle, you're not really rewarded to take this bite for free. You have to know if there's paint coming your way from the back center, which is going to be the case. But a rewarded heads up battle is I won, therefore I take my reward. But this is an unrewarded heads up battle. One sec. I don't know. I hear voices. Okay, so coming to this corner then we establish is really strong, especially to control the tape. Getting here in this mini X is a stopgap, I would suspect, and is pretty crappy to fight out from because this guy is going to rain paint on you. And even getting low, you're not safe. You can challenge him, but that's a really hard thing to do. Otherwise, your inside angles are essentially the same thing where it's like you're going to get so much pressure from this bunker. This is a bunker you want to get really low in and almost uses just a stopgap to simply get here. Your biggest issue is going to be this can. Taking the bite immediately from the mini X to this cake or even into the snake, that can has all the visibility they need to shoot you. So again, if we look at it from this angle, this is what it looks like. So I would suspect it's an either or, meaning that if there's nobody in that corner, you can take this route. But if there's somebody in that corner, you almost have to take this route, or you have to win the corner battle, right? You have to beat that guy and go. But that's a hard thing to make. Otherwise, getting into the snake right away. Let's see. No free kills from the snake 1. Really, your job is to pressure the home in this position, and maybe anybody in an Aztec or the can. It's kind of your only job here if you're going to play from the 1 is to pressure those guys. Just be careful not to die. Otherwise, getting into the snake 2 now is when you start getting into the crossfield stuff. Getting into the snake 2 is going to almost, I mean, unless that guy plays on that outside part of that Dorito, you've got almost a free kill in that Dorito too. Almost. But this is the snake 2 is a dangerous spot for you if you're a Dorito player. Okay, I read that already. Over the top, you have some cheeky shots for sure. You can isolate whatever's going on from the home and target the can guy if you want. Obviously, making sure you're not exposing yourself to the front player. You can do the opposite, where you can isolate the can guy, and you can, if you're careful, you can shoot at this guy, maybe even killing him, which I think you can only do over the top because this pin is blocking it. So just be aware of that angle. It's a really strong angle to kill somebody in their pack, but I wouldn't bank on it. And you want to make sure you're not exposing your loader as you do that, right? From the can guy. Otherwise, getting to their 40 now, or their snake 3, now is when things really start to open up. This is a free kill probably, definitely free kill, and most definitely a free kill. So you've got a lot of kill potential getting into their snake side, which seems to be the case for both sides of the bunkers. So your opponent's 40 whatever Dorito bunker and your opponent's 40 snake bunker are the key bunkers to get to. And then this like middle puzzle is really a matter of like just your read and reacts. This is true for almost every middle, but your read and reacts need to be on point. You need to be reacting to what's going on in the field appropriately up the middle to stop the bleeding or to respond to it correctly. And like I said, my only guiding principle is I just be very careful about going up the middle and holding the snake side. I would probably do more work on the Dorito side. And also this center move is really strong off the break if they're doubling up the home. And that is it. I know it's a quicker one. I know we're trying to get through this really fast. Just got off work, not playing in this tournament, but can't miss a stream. Dude, Maxwell, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. How are you? I get it. This is how we double stack sweet spotting. One guy is tight into the bunker and the other is loose. But yeah, we'd never double up the center and leave the call to the ref if guy tries to bunker. Yes. I'm with you. I know exactly what you're referencing. We're talking about this, I think, this play. But that's it, guys. That's all I have time for. I'm 26 minutes past my stream time, my stream window. But thank you guys so much for watching and being a part of the stream. I know it's super late for some of you guys in the East Coast, but if you watch this and you learned something, please let me know down in the comments below. It does help me out. It does help out every video that I post that you guys comment, not just like, but comment. It really helps. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.